So we're done with the 10th race of the season, Spa-Francorchamps, the Belgian Grand Prix, the longest Formula One race this season on the F1 calendar. And that race was extremely long. I had to look at it at what is going on. It was just for 44 laps. But here, it wasn't shy of drama. We had 3 retirements, 1 crash, and a first-time winner at Spa. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of how the race went. Congratulations to Kimi Antonelli, who won his very first race at Spa, his 6th win of the Formula One season, and also the first Italian to win here since 1953. Just have to give it up to this man. He had the pace, had the straight line speed, everything worked out well for him. Even when he was lagging behind, going behind the likes of Max Verstappen and also Charles Leclerc, he was still able to recover the loss and he won that race brilliantly. Led for 28 laps. That's absolutely mind-blowing and also interesting for him to see. He also extends the lead at the standings this season. It just might go all the way, but we still have a whole lot of races to go for the season. So congratulations to Kimi Antonelli. Charles Leclerc came second. That's back-to-back podium finishes for the Monegasque, who came second also from the 4th position, started in P4 and finished in P2. At some point, you could have said he could have gone all the way to win the race, but Kimi had to appear from nowhere to get back his lead. And Max Verstappen in the Red Bull came in at 3rd, his 3rd podium of the season. And you could say that probably the updates and the upgrades quite worked well for the Dutchman right there. So it was Kimi, Charles, and Max Verstappen in that order. So let's run through the results before I talk about some of the drama and some of the surprising things that I came across in the race. So Hamilton came in at 4th for the Ferrari, Oscar Piastri in 5th, Hadjar 6th, Lando Norris 7th, Gabi Bortoleto in the Audi 8th, Arvid Lindblad in the Racing Bulls at 9th, Franco Colapinto 10th, Pierre Gasly 11th, Liam Lawson 12th, Hülkenberg in the Audi 13th, Oliver Behrman in the Haas at 14th, Alex Albon for Williams 15th, Carlos Sainz 16th, Esteban Ocon 17th, Valtteri Bottas for the Cadillac at 18th, and Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin at 19th. So we had 3 retirements, and they were George Russell, who crashed at lap 1. I'll talk about that incident. Then we had Sergio Perez, who had to retire due to a broken suspension from the car, and Lance Stroll also retired in the race. So 3 retirements from the Belgian Grand Prix. Now to the action that caught people's attention, and the drama started from lap 1. As the race started, Max Verstappen overtook Kimi Antonelli into Eau Rouge. That's along turns 2 and 3 to take the lead, to become the leader of the race. But Antonelli along the way was able to still catch up with the pace and the straight line speed to get past Max much later. Along the line in that same lap 1, we saw the incidents between former teammates, that's Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, who had a bit of clash into each other, but Russell was the one who retired from the race entirely. I would have classified that as a racing incident because I wouldn't put the blame on Lewis Hamilton because he was on the inside, and Russell from the other side, that's from the outside, came into, trying to overtake. When the race has started, you see drivers trying to scamper and get into position to get the better of their competitors, but it was Russell who was trying to get ahead of Lewis Hamilton. I feel Russell on that end should know that Lewis Hamilton was already on the inside, so he should be able to leave a bit of room for him to pass through. But whatever happened at that point happened. We saw that Lewis Hamilton was on the receiving end of things as he got a 5 seconds penalty, which in my opinion was unfair. I think it was Julian Palmer who said it, who was part of analysts on the F1 TV, who said it, that should be classified as a racing incident and not just a 5 seconds penalty. That is going to be back-to-back penalties that Lewis Hamilton will be getting, and even much later in the race, because this position that Hamilton finished at 4th, he could be demoted. He's still being investigated for an unsafe release, because at some point in the race where he got to change tires under the safety car, we saw a bit of a hit to one of the guys who changed the tires for Lewis Hamilton's car, and the FIA and the stewards noted that for an unsafe release, which means he might be penalized for that moment. But Lewis asked on the radio if he was fine, and they responded that it was okay and everything was going well for him. Still on that penalty that Hamilton got, we saw an incident that looked quite like it between his teammate, that's Charles Leclerc, and Oscar Piastri, of which Charles Leclerc clipped the front wing of Oscar's car. But when the stewards checked that, nothing was really found in between and that incident. But I felt Leclerc should have been penalized for that. But what do we know? But all in all, Hamilton still had a topsy-turvy kind of race. He complained about understeer at some point in the race, and trying to catch up with Max Verstappen in third. He just had to give up that he has tried his best, and he can't go any further than what he's been able to do. But he still got past Piastri into fourth position. But to catch Max, I think that was a tall order. It was about 3.5 seconds behind, and he wasn't able to catch up with Max, which he later settled for fourth position. Another point of call for me has to be Isaac Hadjar, who drives for the Red Bull and finished in sixth position. Mind you, coming into this race, he had a 30-place grid penalty, meaning he was to start at the back of the grid. Why? Because he had the fifth change of elements in his car. He had for the IC, he had for the turbo power, and one other part of the car, which is the fifth for the season, meaning he was going to be having 10-place penalty for each of those changes, and that resulted in the 30-place grid which he got, and that meant that he started at P21 and was still able to recover himself and get back into the points at P6. He was my driver of the day. I have to give it to him. He had a very decent weekend from the qualies, and even at the qualies, he did something remarkable, which Max will thank him for till tomorrow. And you have to appreciate him that ever since Sergio Perez, who drives for Cadillac now, left Red Bull, you could say that Isaac Hadjar has been the best second driver in the Red Bull. For those who have followed Formula One for a while, you know that there's always that thing with the second driver at Red Bull ever since Max got into that team in 2016. We just have to appreciate Isaac Hadjar for finishing in the points despite starting behind the grid in that race. Due to the dynamics of the Belgian Grand Prix and how there's going to be a lot of five flat out zones, drivers having to manage battery power, extracting energy. We saw quite a number of overtakes, and it was quite interesting to see for some of the drivers. So there weren't really much drama in the race, and it was just a smooth race all through, aside the incidents in the first lap, and it went all down till when Kimi Antonelli had to take the lead from Charles Leclerc, and he was able to get his sixth Grand Prix win in Formula One. Straight to the standings right now, Kimi Antonelli still leads the pack with 204 points. That is a 45 points difference to now second place Lewis Hamilton, who has 159 points. And Kimi further stretched the gap to 50 points to his own teammate, who has now been demoted to the third position because he crashed in the race, talking about George, and he wasn't able to win any points for the Belgian Grand Prix. To the team standings, it is still the Mercedes leading that with 358 points as against the Ferrari, who now have 285 points. That's about 73 points difference between both teams. So that's pretty much it for the Belgian Grand Prix. Let me know your thoughts concerning this. What were your highlights of the race? Let me know what you think about the entirety of the race. Was it boring for you? Was it interesting for you? Did you sleep off? I did. I slept off at some point. I had to, get myself back and to follow the race till the end. Were you satisfied with what some of your favorite drivers did in the race? We head straight to Budapest this coming weekend, where we get to see the Hungarian Grand Prix, and that would seal it up for the first half of the season, because in the next 1 month they get to go for the long summer break and return much later in August. But for now, it's to follow the FIFA World Cup, and I love the relationship between sports, and this time around it was the Formula One drivers who represent Spain and one who represents Argentina, bringing that into the Belgian Grand Prix. We saw Carlos Sainz, who appeared in the Spanish colors because he is Spanish and repping his Spain country. We saw Fernando Alonso, who is also Spanish but wasn't in a Spain top, but was juggling the ball, all in preparedness for tonight's final against Argentina. And the only Argentine on the grid is Franco Colapinto, who had a banner of Messi and Maradona. Obviously, you know who is supporting right there. So let's wait and see what tonight brings to them. So I come away in my next video ahead of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Do well to have for yourself a great time. Cheers.